And this is the type of nature that has overtaken what used to be called the Democratic Party. Alan Dershowitz is part of it. This is Stalinism. Say it and mean it. And there's some bravery to actually admitting that you're a Stalinist. Hold on. There's bravery to admitting that you're a Stalinist because you're evil. You're an evil person.
This is your argument?
Right?
Great job. If this is your argument, you're really going to win by...
Hold on. You don't care about what's true. You just care about maintaining power. And that's, I mean, it's a brave thing to admit that. I think it's morally repugnant. I think most people believe that. But you would be the same type of person who'd be celebrating in the street when Nelson Mandela got locked up.
Benny Johnson went on Piers Morgan as well as David Pakman, and they got into a very heated debate, as what normally happens on Piers Morgan. This one is one of the more heated ones that I have seen on Piers Morgan's podcast in general, and Benny Johnson absolutely demolishes woke David Pakman in this clip, as it seems like Pakman, especially ever since the 2024 presidential election went down and Pakman's side lost, seems like it's happening a lot to David Pakman recently. Let's get into this clip here where David Pakman gets absolutely obliterated by Benny Johnson for his ridiculous woke talking points.
Normal in America, not in this country. In this country, we don't have a tradition of locking up the leading political candidate 5 months before the election, no matter who that candidate is or no matter what party they're part of. Not if you're a Republican, not if you're a Democrat, not if you're Green Party or Libertarian. Doesn't matter. That's not part of our tradition. That's not normal. We need to establish that. There is a tradition, however, that my fellow panelists may be part of, and that's called being a Stalinist. If you like this kind of thing, you're a Stalinist. You're a show me the man, I'll show you the crime kind of sycophant, psychotic, dictatorial tyrant. And this is the type of nature that has overtaken what used to be called the Democratic Party. Alan Dershowitz is part of it. This is Stalinism. Say it and mean it. And there's some bravery to actually admitting that you're a Stalinist. Hold on. There's bravery to admitting that you're a Stalinist because you're evil. You're an evil person.
This is your argument?
Right?
Great job. If this is your argument, you're really going to win by...
Hold on. You don't care about what's true. You just care about maintaining power. And that's, I mean, it's a brave thing to admit that. I think it's morally repugnant. I think most people believe that. But you would be the same type of person who'd be celebrating in the street when Nelson Mandela got locked up. You're the same person who'd be applauding when they put Gandhi in prison. You're the same person who would be proud that MLK went to jail 27 different times.
Minor drug offenders. You're from the party that prosecutes.
Hold on.
Okay, let Benny finish, then I'll bring you in a minute.
As long as I will not interrupt you, do not interrupt me. As long as the person stands against your power, you are the kind of succubus, sycophants for power, simps for power, who always coddle the Stalinist mantra, do anything, lock up anyone, and you'd be gathering firewood for Joan of Arc bonfires.
I've got one. Okay, Benny, I have one more question for you, but before I get into Mickey, it's this. I remember Donald Trump leading chants of lock her up about Hillary Clinton. Does that make him a Stalinist?
But he didn't do that because she's Hillary Clinton. He was saying lock her up because of the crimes that she committed. It's not just because her name was Hillary Clinton. People are trying to lock Donald Trump up just because his name is Donald Trump and they don't like that he was going to win the election, which he obviously did. And what Benny Johnson here is saying about the left, about David Pakman and about everyone on the left wing is completely correct. Benny Johnson is saying that they don't care, David Pakman and the rest of the left don't care about morals or principles or values or anything. They just care about power. They care about winning. And that's it. And that proved itself after Donald Trump won the 2024 presidential election. And then David Pakman is doing YouTube videos talking about how people are mass unsubscribing and he's losing memberships in mass to his channel, paid memberships. It shows you that these leftists, they don't care about actual morals or principles or values. They care about winning, and that's it. And David Pakman said in his video, he didn't realize this was such a self-own, that when right-wingers lose, when conservatives and Republicans lose elections, they rally around their organizations. They donate a bunch of money. They do things to win the next election. When left-wingers and Democrats lose elections, they switch sides because they just want to be a part of the winning team, and that's it. And whenever right-wingers lose, whenever conservatives lose, there's nowhere else to go that holds the morals and principles of values that right-wingers and conservatives have. When left-wingers lose, when liberals lose, they can just go to other places because they don't have any morals or principles that need to be upheld. They can easily just jump ship and go to the winning team. Right-wingers and conservatives don't have that luxury. So Benny Johnson, what he's saying about Pakman and the rest of these guys is completely correct.
So did that happen is the question.
Yeah, he would be at rallies.
Yes.
He'd be at rallies and say,
hang on Hillary.
My turn to say, hang on. My turn to say, hang on.
Country peers.
My turn to say, hang on.
I love you, buddy. But we have free speech.
I have seen video footage.
There's a lot of nasty things that have been said about. There's a lot of nasty things that Hillary said about Trump. Trump said about Hillary. Let's look at actions. I'm old enough now that I just don't care about your words. I care about your actions. The actions of a major political movement in the country right now is to lock up the leading candidate for president 5 months before an election. He's 77 years old, Piers.
I hear you.
He's been around for a long time. He's never faced a criminal charge.
I know.
Never been found guilty of anything in 77 years of public life.
I've got to jump in.
And now they lock him up. That's called Stalinism.
Benny, I don't disagree with you, but I do want to play a clip because Trump has denied ever saying lock her up about Hillary. Here's a clip.
Crooked Hillary, crooked, you should lock her up, I'll tell you.
For what she's done, they should lock her up.
Lock her up is right.
Lock up the Bidens. Lock up Hillary.
It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Yeah, because you'd be in jail.
Now, by your yardstick, Benny, that makes him leading Stalinist, doesn't it?
No, because I judge a man. I'm judge a man by his actions. Like, did he act on that?
Well, also, this is a weak response from Benny here. I loved everything else that he said. This is a weak response. Benny Johnson is not saying that anybody who puts anyone in jail for breaking the law is a Stalinist. That's not what Benny Johnson's saying at all. He's saying that if you put someone in jail because if you go and find a crime, manufacture a crime because you don't like a person and you have the power to do so, then you are a Stalinist. Benny Johnson's not saying that anybody who ever puts anyone in jail is a Stalinist. If Hillary Clinton broke the law and Donald Trump at the time believed that she did, probably still does, you got to watch what you say about the person, about that whole family. But if she did break the law, she should probably be in jail, is what Donald Trump was saying. He's not saying that because she's Hillary Clinton, she should be in jail. So I wish Benny Johnson would say that instead of saying what he's about to say here.
Did Donald Trump lay a finger on Hillary Clinton? Did anyone direct any special counsel to ever look into Hillary Clinton?
Well, he certainly expressed a desire to.
Sure, that's called freedom of speech. This is called playing politics. A lot of people say a lot of things in politics. Joe Biden just explained that his uncle was eaten by cannibals.
Okay. I do want to bring in.
A lot of people say a lot of things. That's called freedom of speech.
I want to bring in Mickey, but let me go to Alan quickly. You want to say something, Alan?
There was a special counsel on Hillary Clinton. The Whitewater Council was directed against Hillary Clinton. And yes, there were many actions taken against Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton. Don't overuse the term Stalinist. Reserve that term for people who really want to put people in the gulag, want to execute them. Don't become a Stalinist denier, like a Holocaust denier. What Stalin did was worse. I'm not on the side of trying to get Trump, but I would never call them Stalin based on that action alone.
Okay, let me bring in Namik. You've been waiting very patiently. A lot of facial expressions from you suggesting you don't think this is a reasonable argument. Do you feel comfortable about the fact that that any American president, but happens to be Trump, becomes the first one to be dragged through a criminal court on something so comparatively trivial? Had it been one of the other three cases, I think there wouldn't have been such a furore about it, but they chose the most.
If you enjoy content like this, then make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out a ton. Let's get back to the video.
Most trivial one. They upgraded a real misdemeanor offense to a felony so they could basically try and nail him. Do you feel comfortable that the legal system's being weaponized in that way?
Well, I think what's interesting about this case is it's not just that it was a misdemeanor, a traditional misdemeanor for falsifying documents. It's that it was falsifying documents in relation to an election. And so just like they're going after people for sending out robocalls that were AI saying a different election date or different vote for a different candidate or whatever, that's interfering with an election. And that is a very serious crime, especially when you're running for the president of the free world. Now, if we want to talk about weaponization of the legal system, Mr. Dershowitz, hang on a second. we want to talk about, weaponization of the legal system. Just this week, you have Steve Bannon, Stephen Miller, Lara Loomer saying, we should be going after everybody and giving them the death sentence. Steve Bannon saying the Republicans should be using every single option on the table to investigate, to subpoena, to go after Democrats or anybody who stands in the way of Donald Trump.
But that's my point. Nimiki, because of course they're going to. Once one party does this, the other party will now spend all its time, effort, and money trying to return the favor. And the loser actually is America and is standing in the world, and the American people who have elected these people to do a job for them, and all they're trying to do is get each other put in prison. I think it's damaging to America.
I agree with you. I think it's damaging to America that Donald Trump has been on a mission to deconstruct any sort of institutions that keep our democracy alive. I think it's damaging to America that he played these games and he was giving money back and forth to different lawyers.
Have they ever taken accountability just one time? Has any of these leftists ever taken accountability just once? What needs to happen for you to realize, okay, maybe every once in a while, maybe just one time even, you could take accountability for maybe going a little bit too far in the rhetoric around Donald Trump? The man, inches away from being assassinated, live on a rally. On live television, the man would have been assassinated. Inches. And he also had multiple other assassination attempts, and it's probably not finished either. There's probably going to be more in the future. And you still, not just David Pakman and this lady, I don't even know who this is, Namiki or whatever the hell her name is, but also people like The View and Bill Maher and all of these people, none of them take accountability. None of them, it never even crosses their mind that they should maybe tone down the rhetoric a little bit when the man got shot in his ear, inches away from death. What needs to happen for you to be able to realize that maybe your narrative, your rhetoric isn't the best, and maybe this might be a little bit your fault? Piers Morgan makes a great point. Of course, the right wing is going to now use their power to try and use the law against the other side. Of course, that's going to happen now. Well, you've opened Pandora's box, and they can't even take accountability for that. They will never take accountability. It's always Trump. He's the big bad boogeyman and forever will be that.
Lawyers and different folks and paying off folks to do his dirty work. It's damaging to America that he does not respect the institution and the system that gets people elected. So yes, are Democrats supposed to sit back and let him play games with our democratic institutions? Of course not. He wants to dismantle NATO.
You're wrong.
Alan?
You're wrong about was convicted of. If the judge had instructed, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, to convict him, you have to conclude beyond reasonable doubt that he intended to impact the election, you would be right. But he didn't do that. He gave them multiple choice. He said, well, maybe he did that in order to save on taxes. Maybe he did that for this reason, that reason. We multiple choice. We don't know that this is an election case.
That will be brought up at appeals, and that is the one argument that the Trump team is going to put forward, and it may impact sentencing, as you mentioned. But that does not mean that it is a winning argument. Great argument, the one argument he has. But again, we're looking for loopholes in something that appears on the surface very dark. He did, no matter what. He did this, and that does not look good to the American people. It might chin up his base. Hang on, Benny. It might chin up his base. I gave you guys time. Let me just say one thing. It might chin up his base, and his base is dangerous, but they were always going to be ginned up. It's that portion of America, these little margins that we're winning by now, that feels like this is a disgusting action, whether it's one case, two cases, three cases. That jury found 34 counts him guilty, and that jury had lawyers on it, people who voted for Trump. So clearly, they made a strong case, Mr. Dershowitz. You cannot deny that.
No, I can deny that, and I will deny it. Let me give you another argument. So the prosecution argued that it was, as a matter of fact, an illegal campaign contribution. As a matter of fact, they had a witness, Trump, who is the FEC expert, who said, I will testify as a matter of fact that it was not a campaign violation. And it's done all the time. That nobody has ever been prosecuted for it. It was perfectly legal. And the judge kept that out. The judge denied the jury the right to hear from the expert that it wasn't an illegal campaign contribution because the prosecution argued, yes, as a matter of fact, it was. That's clear reversible error. If we had another 2 hours, I could go down 30 reversible errors. I've never seen a case.
Well, maybe you should work for Trump again. He needs your help. He has an appeal coming up. These are great arguments back, but it didn't hold up last week. And that's the point.
Agree to have the appeal decided before the election, and then I'll shut up.
You know what? I think actually, let me bring in. All right, let me bring in David. Let me bring in David. I do think that's an interesting point that's been raised by various members of the panel. Is that actually wouldn't it be fair to have that appeal before the election?
Yes. Yes.
I think it'd be completely fair. I would have no problem with that. I'd love to have it all wrapped up. It seems unlikely that that's going to happen, and I have very little control over it. Me saying I would like me agreeing to it really does nothing. What I do think is interesting is that there's so much moving of the goalposts here in every case. Your other guest here, Mr. Johnson, whose work I'm not as familiar with as I would like to be, but he seems extremely high energy. He comes out shot out of a cannon saying Stalinist this and that, and nobody else was saying lock up. And then you play the montage of here's 6 times Trump said it, and he goes, well, he didn't act on it all of a sudden. He changes his own argument, as they always do in every single one of these cases. Whatever they can get away with, you give them a piece of tape, Piers, and then they go, oh, but my argument's actually something different. That's the sort of fundamental nature of this, and it's pathetic.
All right, Benny, I want to play you a clip. Benny, before you reply, I'll play you a clip of Kamala Harris on Jimmy Kimmel last night.
I really do just wish that Benny would have just said, it's like the actions versus speech thing is fine. But the reality is Donald Trump could have put Hillary in jail because I have to watch what I say about it. Allegedly, if Hillary did break the law, then there should be no problem with putting her in jail. That shouldn't be an issue. Like I said earlier, Benny Johnson's not saying that anyone who ever puts someone in jail is a Stalinist. That's not the argument at all. He's calling people a Stalinist that agree and are basically trying to use mob rule to throw Donald Trump in jail because his name is Donald Trump, because he's the boogeyman. That's where people are going wrong. That's what Benny Johnson has a problem with. And David Pakman is acting like he can't grasp that concept. And this other woman as well is acting like she can't grasp the concept. But we know that they can grasp it. They're just very bad faith actors over there on the left. And then in the comments, what you guys think about what Benny Johnson has to say here to David Pakman and the rest of the panel. Like I said, I think he could have handled it a bit better, but at the end of the day, it doesn't change the fact that Benny Johnson is correct. And even if he did handle it better, these people will never accept accountability for their actions. They'll never say, yeah, Benny, actually, you are right about this. Like that would never come out of David Pakman's mouth or anybody on the left anyway. So I don't know how much it even matters. At this point, we won the election. I hope Donald Trump actually takes action and doesn't just go for retribution. Retribution would be nice, getting revenge, great and all. What I hope Donald Trump does is actually shore up the election system, stop with the no voter ID laws in certain states. Why is it taking a week and a half to actually count all the votes and call Arizona and call Nevada and these states? Like that should not be happening. Like that's just absolutely ridiculous and it shouldn't be happening. We're in 2024. There's no chance that should be happening, and people shouldn't be able to vote without showing IDs. It's not racist to make someone show your ID. I don't understand it. Shore up the actual validity of our elections, please. That should be number one priority, because even though Donald Trump won, they tried their best. They tried their best to take it, and we saw the graphs. You saw the graphs. Where did all those votes for Biden disappear to? Please shore up the election system. That's all I ask. That should be priority number one. Let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking about this whole David Pakman versus Benny Johnson situation here on the Piers Morgan Uncensored Show.